My name is Myra Summers. I was 41 years old when my sister tried to take back the son she gave me 19 years ago. Vanessa got pregnant at 16. My parents panicked. They said a baby would ruin the family name, ruin Vanessa's future, ruin everything they had built, as though they had built something more than a front lawn and a reputation. So they turned to me. I was 22, single, had just been accepted into a master's program with a full scholarship, and had never held a newborn in my life. I took him anyway. Raised him alone. Worked 2 jobs his first 3 years. Wrapped his Christmas presents in newspaper because I couldn't afford wrapping paper. Sat in every parent-teacher conference by myself for 19 years. And my sister? She moved to Boston, finished college, earned her MBA, got married twice, and never once picked up the phone to ask about her son. Then he graduated from high school, and Vanessa walked into that gymnasium carrying a cake. White frosting. Pink lettering. Congratulations from your real mom. What happened next made my mother cry, made my sister's boyfriend leave, and made 200 strangers stand up for a woman they had never met. Let me take you back to the night my mother called at 2 in the morning. I grew up in Willow Creek, Ohio. Population 11,000. The kind of town where your neighbor knows your report card before you do. Vanessa was 6 years younger than me, the baby, the pretty one, the one who walked into a room and made people smile just by existing. I was the other one. The one who set the table, washed the dishes, drove Vanessa to dance class every Tuesday and Thursday because my mother said it was good practice for when I had my own kids someday. Our mother, Rita, had one philosophy: Vanessa was fragile. I was the one who handled things. I was 22 that spring. I had a studio apartment with a window that faced a parking lot, which I thought was beautiful because it was mine. I had a plan, a timeline, a future. Then Vanessa's boyfriend stopped returning her calls, and Rita pushed a piece of paper across the kitchen table at 2 in the morning. An ultrasound printout. 4 months along. Rita laid out the options the way a general lays out a battle plan. Adoption meant paperwork, and paperwork meant people finding out. Keeping it meant a teenage mother in her house, and she would not have that. Then she went to the hall closet and came back with a small yellow blanket, folded into a square. "This was yours," she said. "When you were born." Then she looked at me for the first time since I'd arrived. "You have to help. You are her sister." I asked the only question that mattered. "What does Vanessa want?" Rita waved her hand like I'd asked about the weather. "Vanessa is a child. She doesn't know what she wants." I looked at Vanessa on the couch, knees pulled to her chest, mascara smudged, wearing a hoodie 3 sizes too big. She looked exactly like what she was, a scared 16-year-old who had no idea what was happening to her body or her life. "Vanessa," I said. "What do you want?" She looked at Rita. Then at me. Then at the floor. "I want to go away," she whispered. Rita pointed at me. "There. You heard her. She has school. She has her whole life ahead of her. I need you to remember that line. She has school." I will hear those 4 words again 19 years later, in a gymnasium full of 200 people, and they will mean something entirely different. I withdrew from my master's program the next morning. Dylan was born on July 14th at 3:17 in the afternoon. 6 pounds 9 ounces, a full head of dark hair, and a scream that could strip paint. When the nurse asked who wanted to hold him first, Vanessa turned her head toward the wall. Rita didn't move. The nurse looked at me. I took him. His fist curled around my index finger and he stopped crying just like that, like he had been waiting for the right person. I said when the nurse asked who was taking him home. 3 days later, I carried Dylan into my 1-bedroom apartment. I had a borrowed crib, a box of dollar store diapers, and that yellow blanket. I wrapped him in it that first night, the same blanket that had wrapped me 22 years earlier. It barely covered him, but it was soft and warm and it was ours. The first year nearly broke me. Dylan had colic. He cried for 4 hours every night between 8 and midnight. I walked circles around my apartment holding him against my chest, functioning on 4 hours of sleep, eating standing up, showering in under 3 minutes because 3 minutes was exactly how long Dylan would tolerate the bouncy seat. I called my mother once at 11 at night, crying in my kitchen in sweatpants and a formula-stained shirt. "I need help," I said. "Just for one night." Rita's voice was steady. "You chose this, Myra. You are an adult. Figure it out." She hung up. Vanessa, meanwhile, moved to Boston for college. Tuition paid by my parents' savings. The same savings they said couldn't cover Dylan's pediatrician bills. In October, a family court granted me legal guardianship. Vanessa signed the voluntary relinquishment forms by fax from Boston during rush week. I filed the papers in a fireproof safe under my bed, next to the yellow blanket and Dylan's hospital bracelet. He was mine. Legally. Finally. Completely. Dylan at 1, first steps, 3 feet of open air, arms out, grinning. I recorded it on a flip phone that held 30 seconds. I still have that video. Dylan at 2, first word. Ma. Short, efficient, like he'd already figured out the most important thing and didn't need extra syllables. Dylan at 4, reading the cereal box at breakfast, asking me what riboflavin meant. I had to look it up. Dylan at 5, first day of kindergarten. He marched in with his Spider-Man backpack and didn't look back. I sat in my car and cried. No one from the Summers family visited during those 5 years. Not once. When Dylan was 6, Vanessa called. A Tuesday evening, I was making spaghetti. Dylan was at the table drawing a dinosaur eating a spaceship. She didn't ask how he was doing. She asked about a car she'd left in my parents' garage 6 years ago. She needed to sell it for her apartment deposit. 42 seconds. I timed it. When Dylan was 8, he asked me a question while I was washing dishes. "Aunt Myra, how come I don't have a mom and a dad like the other kids?" I turned off the water. I sat down across from him. I told him I loved him more than anything. I told him his birth mom loved him in her own way. I told him I was the one who was always going to be there. He studied my face with those dark, serious eyes that were already too perceptive for 8 years old. "I know," he said. "I just wanted to call you Mom instead of Aunt Myra. Is that okay?" I had not cried in years. Not when Rita refused to help. Not when Vanessa called about a car. Not when Christmas came without a card from anyone. But when an 8-year-old boy asked permission to call me Mom, I broke completely. He got up from his chair, walked around the table, and hugged me. He smelled like pencil shavings and grape juice. "It's okay, Mom," he said. First time. That night after he went to bed, I opened the fireproof safe, took out the guardianship papers, and read every line in the light of my bedside lamp. My name on every page. Vanessa's signature, notarized, stamped, filed. Then I heard a small knock. Dylan stood in the doorway in his dinosaur pajamas. He climbed into my bed, saw the yellow blanket in my hands, reached for it. "That's my baby blanket." "It was mine first," I said. "Before it was yours." He took it, studied the frayed edges, then folded it carefully, too carefully for an 8-year-old, and placed it back in the safe. "We should keep it safe," he said. "It's important." It was more than he knew. I told Dylan the full truth when he was 13. All of it. The 2 a.m. phone call. Rita's ultimatum. The yellow blanket. The 40-minute drive home in the dark. I told him Vanessa was 16 and scared and not ready. I told him about the legal papers. That she hadn't called, written, or visited in 13 years. I didn't editorialize. I just told him what happened, in order, the way it happened. He listened without interrupting. Then he stood up, went to his room, and closed the door. He didn't come out for 2 days. On the 3rd morning, he appeared at the kitchen table, already dressed for school. He sat down, picked up his fork, ate 3 bites of scrambled eggs. Then he said, "I'm not angry at her." At Vanessa? At any of them. I'm just sad for her. She missed everything. He went to school. I sat at the table for another 20 minutes holding a spatula, not breathing properly. While I was raising Dylan, Vanessa was collecting accomplishments. MBA from Northwestern. Marketing director at a boutique agency in Chicago by 28. She also collected marriages. The first lasted 2 years. The second lasted 14 months. Each time Vanessa got divorced, Rita called me, not to ask about Dylan's honor roll streak, but to tell me not to add to Vanessa's stress. July 14th came and went, year after year. The mailbox stayed empty. Dylan's junior year, I realized he wasn't just smart. He was remarkable. Straight A's since freshman year. AP classes stacked 3 deep. Debate captain. Volunteer tutor every Saturday. His teachers stopped me in hallways to use words like gifted and exceptional. His college counselor called me in for a meeting in October. "Dylan is on track to be valedictorian," she said. "His essay is one of the strongest I've read in 20 years. She slid a printed copy across the desk. The title was centered at the top in 12-point Times New Roman. The woman who chose me. I read it in the school parking lot because I couldn't read it in front of another human being. He wrote about the night I brought him home from the hospital. About the yellow blanket. About learning to ride a bike in the parking lot of our apartment complex because we didn't have a driveway. About Christmas mornings with newspaper wrapping paper. About the night he asked to call me mom and I cried. He wrote, "Biology is an accident. Love is a decision." My mother made that decision every single day for 19 years, and she never once asked for credit. I sat in that car until the sun went down. 2 months before graduation, Dylan came home from school and set his phone on the kitchen counter, screen up. "Mom, you need to see this." It was a family group text. Rita, Gerald, Vanessa, aunts, uncles. Someone had added Dylan to the thread by accident. The messages went back 2 years. Rita, 14 months ago, "When Vanessa is ready, she will take Dylan back. Myra is just keeping him for now." Vanessa, 3 days later, "Give me a couple more years. I'm getting my life together." Uncle Dale, "Myra should be grateful she got to have a kid at all." For 2 years, my family had been discussing the return of my son like he was a borrowed lawn mower. My hands were steady because they had to be. I set the phone down. I looked at Dylan. "Why didn't you show me this sooner?" "Because I didn't want you to lose them," he said. "Even though they don't deserve you." 17 years old. Standing in my kitchen. Protecting me from my own family. I didn't call Rita. I didn't call Vanessa. I went to the bedroom, opened the fireproof safe, and checked every document. Guardianship papers. Voluntary relinquishment. School enrollment records with my name on every emergency contact line for 19 years. Medical records with my signature on every consent form since his first vaccination. If they wanted a fight, the paperwork was ready. 6 weeks before graduation, Rita called with news about Vanessa. She had met someone. Harrison Whitfield. Real estate. Very successful. He wants a family, Myra. A real family. Then she said the words that stopped me cold. This could be Vanessa's chance. Not Dylan's chance to know his biological mother. Not a chance for the family to heal. Vanessa's chance. The graduation of the son I had raised for 19 years, and my mother saw it as an opportunity for Vanessa. Harrison doesn't know the full story, does he? I said. He knows what he needs to know. He doesn't know she signed away her rights by fax during rush week. Silence. Do not ruin this for her. I hung up. I went outside and sat on the porch steps until the fireflies came out. Dylan came and sat beside me with 2 glasses of lemonade. "She's coming," I said. I know. Are you okay with that? He set his glass on the railing and looked at me with those dark, steady eyes. Mom, I have been okay for a long time. She can bring whoever she wants. She can bring a cake and a banner and a marching band. It won't change anything. He went inside. I stayed on the porch until the sun went down. Graduation morning. Dylan came downstairs at 7, showered, dressed in a white button-down and dark slacks. I made eggs and toast and orange juice. We ate in comfortable silence, morning light coming through the kitchen window. I asked one more time if I could read the speech. You'll hear it, he said. From the third row. Before we left, I noticed something in his hand. Small. Yellow. Folded. The baby blanket, frayed at every edge, faded to almost nothing. He was tucking it into the inside pocket of his vest. He saw me watching. Held my gaze. For good luck, he said. The gymnasium at Willow Creek High School holds 400 people. That day, every seat was taken. Vanessa walked in like she was entering a gala. Emerald green wrap dress, auburn hair in loose waves, heels that clicked on the hardwood, smile wide enough to be seen from the stage. Harrison beside her, gray suit, silver watch, salt and pepper hair, the bearing of a man who surveys every room like he's considering purchasing it. Behind them, Rita and Gerald. And in Rita's hands, resting on a plastic tray with a paper doily underneath, a cake. White frosting. Pink lettering. Congratulations from your real mom. 200 people in that gymnasium, and my mother was walking down the center aisle carrying a cake that claimed my son belonged to someone else. I did not move. I did not speak. My closest friend Claire reached over and took my hand. Before the ceremony started, Vanessa found Dylan in the staging area. She hugged him, full, theatrical, both arms wrapped around him, head tilted for maximum visibility. Dylan stood rigid. His arms stayed at his sides. Then she walked to me. Heels clicking. Smile locked in place. She stopped at the end of my row and leaned close enough for the people behind us to hear. Myra, thank you so much for taking care of my son all these years. You have been an incredible babysitter. She paused, placed her hand on my shoulder. But I'm here now. I'll take it from here. Babysitter. 19 years. 4,000 school lunches. 300 parent-teacher conferences. 16 years of homework. 19 birthday cakes I baked myself because bakery cakes cost $40 and that was a week of groceries. Babysitter. I did not respond. Not because I couldn't think of what to say, I had 19 years of things to say. I didn't respond because I saw Dylan watching us from the staging area. Standing very still, jaw tight, eyes locked on mine. And in those eyes, I read a message as clearly as if he had spoken it aloud. Wait for me. So I waited. The ceremony moved the way graduations move, slowly, then all at once. 263 graduates crossed the stage in alphabetical order. Vanessa sat 2 rows in front of me with her phone recording. She was preparing for her moment. The performance she had rehearsed. She had no idea what was coming. Summers, Dylan. His name and everything else disappeared. He walked across the stage tall and steady, cap perfectly straight. He shook the superintendent's hand. He received his diploma. He looked down at me in the third row. He winked. Then he walked to the podium. He started with the expected material, freshman disorientation, the cafeteria mystery meat, the substitute teacher who showed movies for 6 weeks straight. The crowd laughed. Vanessa laughed loudest, her hand on Harrison's arm. Then he paused. He looked down at the paper in his hands. Studied it for 5 seconds. Then he folded it, deliberately, carefully, the way he had folded the yellow blanket when he was 8, placed it on the podium, and began speaking without notes. I've been planning this speech for 6 weeks, he said. I wrote 9 drafts. But I realized this morning that the most important thing I want to say isn't on any of those pages. The gymnasium went quiet. The particular quiet that falls when 200 people simultaneously realize something unexpected is coming. Vanessa leaned forward slightly. She thought he was about to talk about her. I could see it in the way she straightened her posture, the way she squeezed Harrison's hand. She was preparing to be thanked. The person I want to thank most today, Dylan said, is not a teacher. Not a coach. Not a friend. It's a woman who was 22 years old when she was handed a newborn baby and told, "This is your responsibility now." Silence. She had never changed a diaper. She had never heated a bottle. She had just been accepted into a master's program with a full scholarship. And she gave it up. The next morning. Without hesitation. He paused and let those words settle into every corner of that room. She moved into a one-bedroom apartment and figured it out. 4 hours of sleep a night for the first year. Teaching assistant salary. Dollar store diapers. She wrapped my Christmas presents in newspaper because she couldn't afford wrapping paper. Somewhere in the back of the gymnasium, someone began to cry. She went back to school when I was 5. Night classes, 4 years. She graduated with her master's degree in special education, and nobody from her family came to her ceremony. One friend sat in the 3rd row and cheered loud enough for 10 people. Claire squeezed my hand so hard I lost feeling in my fingers. She helped me with homework every night for 13 years. She taught me to cook, to do laundry, to shake hands firmly and look people in the eye. She came to every parent-teacher conference, every school play, every awards assembly. She never missed one. Vanessa was no longer smiling. Her phone was still recording, but her hand had dropped to her lap. She was looking at Dylan with an expression I had never seen on her face before. Confusion. Then recognition. Then something that looked very much like fear. Dylan looked directly at me. 3rd row. Left side. "She is not the woman who gave birth to me," he said. "But she is the woman who chose me every single day for 19 years without asking for anything in return. Without complaining. Without quitting." His voice did not crack. His hands did not shake. "Her name is Myra Summers. She is my mother." The gymnasium erupted. 200 people on their feet, clapping, some of them wiping their eyes. The orchestra teacher in the corner was dabbing her face with a program. Principal Fricks pressed her hand over her heart. I could not move. I sat in that plastic chair with tears running down my face, hands folded in my lap exactly where they had been for the past hour, except now they were shaking. Vanessa sat 2 rows ahead of me. She had stopped clapping. Harrison was looking at her, then at me, then at Dylan on the stage, calculating. Rita sat at the end of her row, the cake still in her lap. "Congratulations from your real mom." Pink letters facing outward. Visible to everyone around her. Except now those words meant something entirely different. Because 200 people had just heard Dylan Summers name his real mom. And it was not the woman on the cake. I looked at my son on that stage. He looked back at me and mouthed 2 words that no one else could see. "Thank you." The ceremony ended. Families spilled onto the grass. I was standing near the oak tree by the parking lot when Vanessa found me, heels sinking into the lawn, mascara already going, Harrison trailing behind with his hands in his pockets and something cold settling into his expression. "What was that?" Her voice was sharp. "What did you tell him to say?" "I didn't tell him anything." Dylan appeared behind her, still in his cap and gown, diploma in hand. "Nobody coached me," he said. "I wrote that speech myself." Vanessa turned to him. "Baby, I'm your mother. I gave birth to you. I carried you for 9 months. And then you signed a piece of paper and faxed it from a sorority house," Dylan said. "During rush week." Vanessa's mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. "Grandma told me once that you had to go because you had school," Dylan continued. And you did go. To school, and to a career, and to 2 marriages, and to Chicago. And that's fine. But you don't get to walk into my graduation with a cake that says real mom and pretend those 19 years didn't happen. He looked at Rita standing 10 feet away with the cake still in her hands. And Grandma, you said today was Vanessa's chance. But this is my graduation. Not her audition. Harrison stepped forward. His voice was low and deliberate, the voice of a man who closes deals for a living and knows when the numbers don't add up. Vanessa. You told me the family situation was complicated. You said you were forced to give him up. That was the word you used. Forced. It was complicated. I was 16. Did you sign the relinquishment voluntarily? The people around us had stopped pretending not to listen. A parent with a camera lowered it. 2 graduates nearby turned to watch. Vanessa looked at Rita for rescue. Rita stepped forward. You don't understand our family. Harrison moved his arm away from her reach. He looked at me. Really looked, for the first time. You raised him from birth? Yes. Alone? Yes. He turned back to Vanessa. His jaw was set. The warmth was gone. He didn't say another word to her. He straightened his jacket, adjusted his watch, walked across the grass to the parking lot. I heard his car start, a clean, expensive sound, and watched it pull out past the school sign, past the gymnasium, and down the road toward the highway. Vanessa stood in the middle of that lawn in her emerald dress with her auburn hair catching the sunlight, and she watched the only man who had ever made her want to be a mother drive away, because he had just learned that she never was one. The cake sat in the grass where Rita had set it down. Nobody touched it. Nobody ever would. In the silence that followed, something shifted in Rita's face. She was looking at Dylan. Not at Vanessa. Not at me. At Dylan, standing there in his cap and gown, diploma in hand, yellow tassel at his shoulder. Her eyes went wet. Her lower lip trembled for one single moment, 3 seconds, maybe 5, and I saw something I had never seen in my mother's face before. Regret. Real, unfiltered regret. She opened her mouth. I held my breath. Myra, she said. I waited. If you hadn't poisoned him against his own mother, none of this would have happened. And just like that, the moment was gone. The wet eyes dried. The trembling lip set itself into a firm line. The regret collapsed back into the fortress of righteousness she had been living inside since before I was born. Gerald stood behind her, quiet as always, staring at the grass, having not said a single word the entire day. Dylan looked at her. Patient. Not angry. Not contemptuous. Just patient, the way you look at someone who cannot hear you no matter how clearly you speak. Grandma, he said. No one poisoned me. I'm 19 years old. I have eyes and ears and 19 years of memories. Do you know how many of those memories include you? 7 Thanksgivings. 3 Christmases. 1 birthday card. That's it. He paused. Do you know how many include Mom? He looked at me. All of them. Every single one. She's in every memory I have because she was there. Rita had no answer for that. There is no answer for that. Dylan turned to Vanessa. She was standing 3 feet away, mascara streaked, arms wrapped around herself. I'm not trying to hurt you, he said. I need you to hear that. I'm not angry. I'm not punishing you. But I need you to understand something. If you want to be in my life, you can be. I would like that. But you have to start from now. Not from a cake. Not from an Instagram post that says my son, my pride, when you don't know my GPA, my best friend's name, or what I'm allergic to. Vanessa blinked. What are you allergic to? Tree nuts. Dylan said. Since I was 4. Mom figured it out when I broke out in hives at a birthday party. She drove me to the ER doing 60 in a 35 zone. She sat in the waiting room for 4 hours holding a juice box and praying. He reached into his vest pocket and pulled out something small and yellow and faded. The blanket. The yellow baby blanket from 19 years ago. The one that had wrapped me as a newborn. The one I had wrapped him in the night I brought him home. The one that had lived in a fireproof safe under my bed for 14 years. He unfolded it, held it for a moment, then walked to me, took my hand, and placed it in my palm. "This is yours, Mom. It was always yours." I held that blanket. Thin as tissue, soft as memory, frayed at every edge. It smelled like cedar and baby shampoo and 19 years of being someone's whole world. I could not speak. There was nothing left to say. My son had said it all.